Sawatika. I spent about 8 years writing this book, and I finally got a hard copy. First thing I realized is I have got to go into a re-edit. But I want to provide a video copy that you can watch on YouTube and here on my Facebook page for all my social media friends. And my book is called Eternal Energy and Information by Jimmy Ninja Chaikong. This will be pretty cool because I'm going to add a lot of commentary that's not in the book while we go along. I know this will be a long video, so if it's more than you're got patience to watch, tune in later. Watch it on your own time. It's not really that long. It's about a 90-minute read straight through. So let's see what we got. Eternal Energy and Information by Jimmy Ninja Chaikong, Balboa Press, a division of Hay House Publishing. That's huge for me, man. All my favorite authors are on Hay House. And so Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks, Louise Hayes herself. So it was huge for me to get the publishing house that I wanted to be with. These are the chapters. Number 1 is The Science of Human Interaction and Energy. Gawd, G-A-W-D. The Folklore of Love. Chapter 3, Love is a Choice. Chapter 4, Love is a Choice. Chapter 5, Fighting Fears Takes You Everywhere. Chapter 6, Lean Forward into Your Life. That's one of my favorite mottos I came up with in my life. When I Was a Drug Addict. Chapter 7. Chapter 8, I See God Here Too, as well. The Law of Attraction, or as I see it, the way I set my mind on getting stuff done. Chapter 9. And Chapter 10, The Quantum God. So, this will be available on my YouTube too. You can listen to it on your own time. My eyes have gotten so bad from reading so much over the years and probably meditating and staring at the sun. Who knows what else. The number of times I've been punched in the eye in sparring and combat. But not only have I started wearing glasses, but I don't read books that often because it's just very straining and tough for my eyes. So I tend to listen to them. So I wanted to make this audio version that you can listen to on YouTube or on my Facebook channel while you work. And I tend to do that a lot. I tend to listen to more books these days than I read. I've been waiting for some time to begin my book. I started this 8 years ago, by the way, and just got this hard cover this last couple months. Perhaps I needed time to mature to a level where I had something original to say. I've created lots of projects in my time, from songs, art, techniques for gymnastics, martial arts, stories, inventions, etc., yet nothing I have ever considered unique or an original thought until now. That's not true. I have made some really cool things besides this book that are cool. I spent my whole life searching for meaning and living my science as a field study of life. I have earned numerous degrees in several disciplines which have only introduced me to new things, and now I have more questions than answers. Yet at this point in my 40 years, when I wrote this, I'm 48 now, I have observed a few original ideas I think are worth sharing. I would like to thank all my teachers, coaches, friends, songwriters, and crazies that I have met along the way that have influenced my life and my story and self-image of who it is I am. Chapter 1, The Science of Human Interaction and Energy. Have you ever noticed when a pool ball strikes together, they play off one another and find a way to bank off each other, to find themselves in the goal, the hole? I have, and people are very much the same. We bounce off one another, reflecting and deflecting each other's energy as we go through life, creating our little romances and battles with each other. Every person we encounter, from the waiter to the girlfriend to the minister to the father to the mother to the brother to the barber to the students and to the teacher, the crew, Ajan, sensei, professor. Still don't get it? Okay, here's an example. This man, let's call him Jim, wakes up in a foul mood, and his ex-wife Christy is in a good mood, making breakfast. And actually switch these roles around. It's actually the other way around. But at the time when I was writing this, I was wanting to manifest a change. And so I switched the roles and made her me and me her. Comes out and does his angry dance. Christy then decides, Jim, you are offending me with your foul mood, and I am now upset. And when I go to my first meeting with my hairdresser, Jane, I will pass my tale of pissed offness, yes, I make up words quite a bit, to her, and my cycle of negativity continues. Hence, one ball banging into the next, affecting the next, creating a possibility of where the day will end. However, this is not a standard. We humans are the variable because. Sorry, I have food being delivered. I want to make sure it gets here. However, this is not the standard. We humans are variable because Christy could have also been spending time listening to her Abraham Hicks affirmations or reading her Eckhart Tolle affirmation calendar or meditating or whatever. And when Jim came in with his foul mood, she could have deflected his negativity with a lesson in patience or acceptance or self-realization that Jim's foul mood is his own responsibility and I will not take part in it with him, and therefore disconnecting the energy flow that was going to sink the 8-ball. This energy dynamic can be witnessed in everyday life. See for yourself. Many people walk around wondering why they feel a certain way or why their day is going so badly or so good. The reason, unless you are aware and self-aware and setting and resetting your own tempo or emotional guidance system, at multiple times you are probably one of these balls that are banged around by the cue ball. Emotional guidance systems, that's an Abraham Hicks thing. I, however, seek to be the cue ball because that is the ball setting the tempo for the game of life, or if you haven't been following this analogy, the way we interact with one another. This is interesting if you realize the game is predicted by your ability to play it. So is life. Chapter 2, Gawd. Gawd. I say God like that the way old-time preachers pronounce it because it draws a parallel between my version of God and the average view of the mythological God. I was born in Thailand, Sawatika, and I came to the United States when I was very young. Buddhism is the national religion of Thailand and my mother's first religion. When we first moved to Texas, my mother was married to a GI that left her after she stabbed him 9 times after slapping me off a table and knocking out my front teeth when he came home in a drunken stupor. After that, speaking very little English, we needed help, and somehow or another, someone from Elmcrest Baptist Church started coming around to help this woman and her young son with food and just general assistance living in a foreign country. The trade-off was we were now Baptists. What a fascinating story. Jesus of Nazareth, born in the manger, disappears at 13 after a remarkable visit to the temple to astound the wise men with his knowledge. He disappears and shows back up at 30 to defy the Jerusalem Jewish hierarchy and the Roman Empire to die a horrible death that sets all men free to accept him as their Lord and Savior and shapes most of the Western civilization for the next 3,000 years. It's a great story. One problem, where's the proof for any of these things? And what do they have to do and how are they relevant to my life today? Let's find out. Not only that, where did Jesus go when he was 13? And why isn't any of that documented? I've read many books that say at the age of 12 or 13, when a Jewish male is bar mitzvahed, they are declared a man and it is time for them to marry. Jesus, being the intellect that he was, did not want to marry and ran away to the east. So far east that he traveled through much of India and Asia, where he was heavily influenced by the teaching of someone who preceded him by about 500 years, the Buddha. The East's greatest spiritual teacher had crossed paths with Jesus of Nazareth, or more likely one of Buddha's disciples, at one of the many Buddhist monasteries along the way. So now Jesus finished his travels and missing his mother, what boy doesn't miss his mother, returns to the Holy Land with all this newfound knowledge and healing, the healing arts and Reiki and acupuncture, hypnosis, meditation, philosophy, etc., and comes back preaching a new revolution and turns the Jewish establishment on its head. Any of you are familiar with the Bible know how rebellious Jesus' teachings were to the old Torah, to the old Jewish custom. They were he was the king of the rebels. He literally was. His charisma, his stories, his courage to stand up to the man makes him a hero to the disenfranchised youth of the times and starts a revolution. If you don't understand that time period, what was going on then, the Romans had come in and conquered Israel and the Jewish world as well as really much of most of the world. And people weren't happy. They weren't happy being under Roman law because they had their own customs and their own culture. And here the Romans come in and say, now you're Roman and you're going to do this our way and that way. And Jesus was someone that said, not only do we need to buck the old ways, but we need to buck the Roman rule. Like, Jesus was the king of the rebels. He was the Neo of the time. And for anyone who, I have a lot of people that think that I don't love Jesus and all that. Man, I love Jesus. One of my greatest heroes, if not my greatest, in history. This is a book that I wrote 8 years ago. I'm expressing thoughts I had 8 years ago, which is why I'm doing the commentary now, because there needs to be some further explanation on what I was writing about. But Jesus started a revolution. Not that I really believe that tale verbatim either, because where is the proof of any of these mythologies or stories that are passed down? All stories have truth in them, like Zeus and the Greek gods, and the Romans could have once based on real characters in the human timeline. However, most of these stories and mythologies and histories are depictions or word of mouth or scrolls written hundreds of years after the actual events occurred. You guys notice in our own political climate how much opinion there is about like what the country is or what it represents or what these people mean or that people mean. Times have never changed. It was just like this back then as well. So what we're doing now, so many people are basing their life and their facts based on the mythological history that's passed down through thousands of years when we don't even know exactly what's going on right now. So think of the absurdity of thinking that what you were told that was passed down thousands of years is still true today. However, most of these stories and depictions were word of mouth, were passed down. If I were born 1,000 years from now and I find a book called Green Eggs and Ham, am I to believe that there was such a character as Sam I Am? His issue with eating people's hen and pig, he had issues with eating people's hen and pig products. I happen to think eggs and ham are delicious. Yet it doesn't mean that I'll believe any old story attached to them. My point was, I was told a lot of beautiful mythologies about God and His Word and His disciples and His desires for my life, and I came to find out after all my studies of science and archaeology and philosophy and the other world religions that there's no substantial proof for God. I have had what I consider to be a conversation with God since I was very young. Yet could this be my higher consciousness or maybe just an overactive creative imagination? I don't know. Something I'm saying that a lot of spiritual leaders and a lot of gurus and all these false messiahs say that don't say that I'm saying right now. I have no clue. I don't know. This is my interpretation from my own life experience. It's what I think, maybe. And then I still admit in my book, I might be wrong. But I think that humility to admit that you don't know and that you might be wrong is not only humble, but I think it's spiritual, because if there is only one great divine consciousness in the universe, who are we to say as humans that we know? Very arrogant to me to take that stance. But I've been having this conversation with God since I was very young. I don't know, and I cannot prove it no matter how much I believe in my own beliefs, yet I'm humble enough to admit that I might not know what I think I know. Yet, that's okay. Who says we have to have it all figured out? I don't believe we have to know everything, especially things that cannot be proved, especially when there are so many things that science has to share with us, or our experiences have to share with us, that can be proven that will take a lifetime just to observe. Basically saying there, a lot of us are living our life based on mythologies or things that were passed down to us, when your true testament of your life is your experience in your life, what you're experiencing every day. Because we all are looking through a different lens. So if Julio is looking at something on a plate and he says that's delicious, and I'm looking at something on a plate, I'm like, I don't like that, and Julian's looking at something on a plate, he's like, that's okay, it's there, it's true, it's real, but we all have a different perspective on what's true to us. That's something very important to to understand. The one thing that has always perplexed me, though, however, which is what I do feel is very spiritual and divine, is synchronistic events. Many times in my life, things have added up. The right people at the right time, the right opportunity at the right time. This and music, to me, is the magic or God that I have seen behind the science where I find my God. I do not believe in the mythological creator. However, I do believe in the creator that creates through the physics it created. That's very important. That was a thought that I had. That's a very important statement in this book. I do not believe in the mythological creator or myths. However, I do believe in a creator that created through the physics it created. That means that I don't know what's out there. I don't know, I don't believe in all these labels of names of people, this or that or the other. I actually think these other prophets also had a divine spiritual connection, and they wrote these things down. And then just like when you play that game Operator, where you pass the secret ear to ear and it kind of gets misconstrued and deformed as it passes from person to person, that's what happens a lot with a divine message. It gets changed and altered. You can always tell a divine work, though, because it's always going to have love, kindness, connection in it. Anything with division, hate, disconnection, all these things are where the message is being lost. If the voice I hear in my head is not God, I accept it as my higher self, which can weed through all the bullshit and lead me to a higher good and better decisions. What I sense and what I think might be going on in the universe is irrelevant to the fact that I'm alive, I'm seeking my own truth, and will not accept someone else's truth just because they say so. Chapter 3, the folklore of love. Love and romance, these are powerful forces in our reality. It seems everything and everyone is obsessed with this topic. When will I find love? Will I ever find love? Can I love? Am I lovable? Will love ever find me? Fuck love. Do I love her? Can I love him? No one's true, my one true love, soulmates. I love you. I cannot speak for everyone, yet I can speak from my own experience, and I have sought love more than any other passion in my life. And if trial and error is the litmus for science, then I have been an active researcher for most of my life with success and failures. Yet, like most of my old superstitious and mythological beliefs that I have shed like a skin, I have discovered new truths on the subject as well as false premises, false ideas that I have abandoned. Number 1, love is not a destiny event. Number 2, love is not selfish, it's self first. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Number 3, love is a choice. Love is not some destiny event, number 1. That one particular soulmate has been picked out for us before we were here in form. We are not destined to be with this person or that person. That overwhelming feeling inside of crazy love is a chemical reaction born into us over millions of years of species change that has given us the ability to adapt and prolong our genetic strain. I'm sorry, love is not a movie or a storybook. We find someone that makes us feel special because we see them as beautiful. We believe they represent something we deserve or sometimes more than we deserve, and we feel special. And then the important part of the equation, they accept us fully. This acceptance sends our all-in genes that say, this person loves me as much as I love them, and now I can go all in and trust them. That word trust is not used enough. Love is thrown around quite a bit, yet the word trust is an even more powerful ethical trait than just the fondness for someone. My dog loves me, without question. You have to be understood by someone, an even greater trait to actually trust someone, that you in your life can be invested with them long enough for you to have the whole progeny scenario: kids, home, family, a life. One of our major factors to real love, or love that can last, is trust. How do we develop trust? Simple. Don't fuck over your partner. It's that simple. Same is true for friendship, family, blah, blah, blah. None of us are perfect. And if you realize that and you're mature enough and you do mess up, because none of us are perfect, at least go back with some humility and apologize with changed action. Not with words, but changed action, changed behavior. And if it's something where you're broken and you keep making the same mistakes regardless of your effort, you need to be alone. You can't be with people if you're not loving yourself and you're not an honorable person to yourself first. You're just constantly going to go from partner to partner to partner, because what's broken inside you, you're refusing to fix because you're going to a partner to have that connection. But nobody wants to do that. And if you don't want to do that, you're also going to suffer in your relationships. Love is not, number 2, love is not selfish. Love is self first. This means, yes, that we must give, we must love, we must even give a little more sometimes. Yet if you do not stay focused on your own personal goals and passions, you will only find a reason to resent your partner and end the relationship. Example: mom. Mom gives and gives and gives and gives, and at the end of the day she feels empty, or she feels like she has nothing left to give her man, and the relationship suffers. Example: dad. Dad works hard and earns money, working hard, and he works hard some more. And he gets a third job and he works even more. He neglects his passions. The life, the kids, the wife become about giving everything and getting nothing in return except complaints and bitching and blaming. And what happens? Mom or dad seeks solace outside the relationship. Why? Because that illusion of perfection over there is better than the reality of someone over here actually making the effort, right? That's why most of us step out. We think that the grass is greener over there. But the truth is, that's an illusion and a lie. The grass is greener where you water it. Number 3. Oh, that's number 2. Seek not to be selfish, but to be self first. Put yourself first. We're taught to not put ourselves first. We are literally taught to put everyone else before us, and then we wonder why the world and civilization and relationships are crumbling. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to put yourself first, because as you fill yourself and you become whole and happy and powerful, you're able to give to others. Any of my business owner friends out there know the more they do for themselves to grow their business, the more they're able to do for their circle and others. Even though often we're seen by others as selfish and a shark and greedy and all these other words, which is absolutely ridiculous. Number 3, love is a choice. Bottom line, we choose to get into shape. Boom. We realize that we don't feel good and that we don't look good, and we don't like the way we feel, and we don't like the way we look when we look in the mirror, and we get serious about change. We buy all the right equipment, we join the right gym, we find the right trainer, we listen, research, right advice, we buy the right food, take the vitamins, get the supplements, we get serious about our commitment to our new schedule and our new way of life. It's simple, right? Getting in shape. It's not rocket science. Eat better, exercise. Commitment, consistency. Love is the same way. We choose to love and to be loved in return. We choose to defeat our self-doubt and our insecurities, and we make the leap into the great cavern of love and not an abyss. A cavern has its way out. An abyss is endless. One can be navigated where one is a lost journey. We buy the right books, we attend the right meetings, we watch the right shows and YouTube videos, and you say, like this one, what does this have to do about choosing love? Well, truly love, you have to first realize that you are broken. Broken? Me? If you're even reading this or listening to this now, you were meant to. Synchronicity. If you are interested in what I'm saying, it is because love has eluded you and the energy of synchronicity has led you to my words. There are no accidents. We just have issues with seeing the meaning in all of our synchronicity, which is, it's one of the tools that Spirit or God or whatever label you want to call it. Water has many names all over the world. Anyway, my words say that you are broken and you are the mechanic. Who else can be? Who else is in charge of fixing you except for you? Who else is man enough or woman enough for the job than you? You will become a scientist and discover why you have pushed love away so many times. You say, me? It was her! It was him! No, it was you. Now that we got that cleared up, and I do apologize to your ego, not really yet, I do hope you get what I'm saying. You are in charge of fixing you. Okay, you have done the work. You have seen the therapist. You have watched the videos, read the books, attended the seminars, and now you're ready to be with someone. It's a choice. After you have tasted the cornucopia of choices that are out there, redhead, brunette, blonde, Brazilians, model, singer, actress, country girl, myth, Asian, black, Cuban, etc., tall, short, whatever, it doesn't matter. You realize, wow, what they look like, the outer cover, has nothing to do with it at all. Or what they do, or any of the things that we usually are picking partners based on. It's how they make you feel. It's how you choose to feel in their presence, because their presence makes you feel a certain way. Now I'm looking for traits: a happy personality, a positive personality, a nurturer, a homemaker, spiritually similar, family oriented, economic demographic similar, talks to me harshly the way my mom did, speaks to me sweetly like my dad did, or vice versa. Pushes me like my mom did, encourages me like my dad did, vice versa. Disses me like my dad did. Do you, vice versa? Do you see now what we're starting to try to make something to be something? It's the wrong way. Is we've been looking at the whole love game wrong. You have to choose. Just make a commitment. Just make a choice, and then do what every great athlete knows, from Michael Jordan to Randy Couture: drill, drill, drill. For that skill. For you non-athletes, that means keep doing, keep going, and keep being about your choice. No matter what, do not look for a reason to quit. Do not just get mad for once in your life. Make a choice and stick with it until you've discovered its end. Love does not happen by chance. It is held by those who have the courage to hold on to it. All failure in love or anything else, especially in this present day timeline, is because people give up so early and so quickly. You cannot achieve anything if you keep giving up and jumping from lily pad to lily pad to lily pad. Whether it's work, whether it's a passion, whether it's music, whether it's a relationship, you have to decide, this is right for me. I can endure the challenges, and you got to keep being consistent. We're like plants in our life. We're growing through consistency. If every time a plant gets this tall and I chop it off, which is what most of you do with your dreams and your passions and your relationships, it's never going to get any taller. So love does not happen by chance. It is held by those who have the courage to hold on to it. I think the challenge there for a lot of people is you're in a relationship where you feel like, well, when do I cut it off? When do I say this is enough or that's enough? For me personally, it's when it's going to get close to violence or getting arrested. If you think you're going to get violent with your partner, or if you think this is going to lead to jail or imprisonment, get out. Even verbal abuse can be a lot, but I think to me that's, everyone loses their shit and says crazy shit. You got to let words go. Words don't mean as much as most of us think they do. But if you're in a relationship where there's violence involved, or you're, possibly going to get arrested, or you've already been arrested, then you definitely need to get out, and then you need to focus on yourself. Because if you're drawing that kind of energy into your relationship, you really need to focus on self-growth before you enter in another relationship. All right, I think we're on chapter 4 or 5. I kind of want to take a break, but I need to make one video to go on my YouTube. I want to do the whole thing all the way through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, chapter 5. Fighting fears takes you everywhere. I remember my first phobia. I was walking through the alleyway after getting dropped off from the bus in middle school. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, a pit bull had just taken a chunk out of my shin, and 3 more just as big were right behind it. I instinctively slammed my books on its head I was carrying, and it released and turned around to go back in the yard. The other 3 followed. I hobbled into my yard to clean my leg, and in that moment, my fear of big dogs began. I was about 13 or 14, and I was now extremely afraid of big dogs. So much so, I would run and hide in the bathroom if my friends brought over his cute little boxer. This began a history of owning big, beautiful pit bulls. A beautiful, majestic, strong breed, and it's very true that what they say, that they are like their owners. So if you're an asshole, chances are you own a pit that's overly aggressive. And if you're kind and patient, he or she is probably a pussycat. Still, all powerful things must be handled with care. Remember Uncle Ben's quote to Peter Parker, with great power comes great. One day, out of the blue, or upon conscious awakening, I realized that it was between me and the dog. It would have to be the dog. This is how I healed myself from my phobia of big dogs. It was as simple, and I was cured. The reason I was in a state of phobia for so long for big dogs is because it wasn't so much I was afraid of the dogs. I was afraid. I loved animal. I've always loved animals so much that I knew that, and I had the capability because I was already a jiu-jitsu master at that time, that I could literally strangle the dog to death. And I didn't want to do that. So instead, my fear said, run and hide from the dog. So the same phobia was true about fighting people. When I was bullied a lot when I was young and beat up, instead of, that fear wasn't so much just my fear of the violence. It was also the fear of hurting them. Like, I don't want to hurt people. I don't, I love people. I cherish people. I don't want to hurt them. Most of the time when I see someone, I don't see them as an adult. I see them as a child. And so even when I've gotten to a few things out in public over the last several years, I only give people a few touch-ups, and then when they realize, whoa, I messed up, I stop and I let them know. But that doesn't mean you won't have a phobia. But the way I healed myself from that phobia and from the phobia of, from the phobia is that I kind of came to terms that if it was between me and the dog, I'm going to take the dog out. Because self-love again, I have to protect the one so I can love the many. Same for my phobia of deep water. My mother used to tell me when I was young that dead people who drown had to pull someone under to take their place so they could leave. That's scary, right? Especially for a child. I then almost drowned once in Lake Fort Phantom collecting shellfish with my mother. The stream I was walking through suddenly became a roaring river, emptying into the lake, and having poor swimming skills, this became a quite treacherous journey. At one time, I looked up and realized I was 4 feet under the water. I was about 9 or 10 at the time. I'm looking out at the surface. Somehow, miraculously, I washed to the shore, and before I reached the deep drop-off into the lake. How I was saved, I don't know. I'm certain it was spirit. Then there was a time I moved to South Florida, and I was so excited to see the ocean, I didn't realize the rip current had pulled me deeper and deeper. I was waving frantically at my friend David, rest in peace, and he thought I was playing and waved back. He swam over to me, and I held his britches, and he dragged me back to shore. Then and there was the time I took my friend out on a kayak for a midnight workout. This guy's name was Jimmy as well. And I thought I had, me and Jimmy were out in this kayak in the ocean, and about 200 yards out, and all of us, and it's moonlight, we don't have life jackets on, the kayak starts to sink. I'm literally tripping because I'm like, we gotta go, and I jump off the kayak. I swim about 40 yards because I wasn't a great swimmer then. I'm still not a great swimmer, but I have less fear of the water now. And I go underwater, and I'm literally thinking, oh, this is how it ends. The water was very choppy that night. And I kick back up, and I look back, and I see Jimmy on the kayak this guy's name was Jimmy too, about 40 yards behind me. I swim back to the kayak, and I tell this guy, man, I don't swim good. You got to help me get back to the shore. And we jump out and we swim out again. I make it about 40 yards again before I start sinking. He grabs me. I'm kicking as hard as I can. He's dragging me with one hand, kicking, and we get back. And I'm sitting there on the shore, smiling from ear to ear, and he's panting because he just pulled the both of us about 100 yards back. And he can't believe it. He thought I was messing with him, doing some like sensei stuff, trying to like teach him a lesson. And he had come down from Chicago. His daughter had been in a intensive care unit. He came down there for a job at the dojo I worked at in South Florida in Coral Springs. And that dude had just saved my life. And the next day he went back to Chicago. But the way I got over that fear was all my friends surfed there, and I wanted to do it so badly, but I had this major water phobia. And what I did was I ended up buying a surfboard. In the first couple months, I just floated on that thing, leash tied around 4 times, and I just, 4 foot of water, I'm swimming around it. And eventually I go further out. About 6 months later, one of the big hurricanes came, and there were like garage-sized waves coming at the shore. And I swam out. I didn't catch any waves that day, but I swam out and duck dived through that break, and I learned to surf. And if any of you follow me, I go surfing all the time now. I wouldn't say a phobia of water now. I have a deep respect, especially for the ocean. But this is how I conquered my phobias, by facing them. Chapter 6, lean forward into your life. The original fear for me was violence. Violence in my home, violence in the streets of North Crockett, where I grew up in a predominantly black and Hispanic neighborhood. I still to this day remember with vivid clarity walking home from elementary and watching these 2 kids get off the middle school bus and duke it out at Jefferson and LaSalle. And one boy began to bang the other kid's head up against this house, this brick house, and blood began gushing out of this kid's head. And everyone cheered and roared if they were in the stadium at a gladiatorial battle. It was life-changing. I was like, man, life is rough and tough, and you better be rough and tough to deal with it. From the pummeling the upper middle school kids would give all the newbies every new year, it was a terror to think you had to take this beating. Sometimes it was weekly until you joined the ranks of the 8th and 9th graders at Man Middle. Violence was all around me. I too had become violent. Fighting with the kids on my block around my hood was a daily occurrence. Fighting in Abilene was just a common thing that we did at school. Cruising North First and football games, at parties, just anywhere young people would gather. Then I saw the first Ultimate Fighting Championship. I actually saw the Gracie in action video first, and that got me involved in MMA. And I had my first fight in 1992, which I post on YouTube all the time. It's another one of my fights that aren't on my official record because they honestly didn't start taking official records well in America till like the 2000s. And all those fights were from 92 to 97. I went undefeated 92 to 97, fought for a world title in 97, lost to Ali Elias in USWF. He went on to fight in rings, which became Pride Fighting Championship, and then I took a break for 8 years and got a record deal, and I came back later and fought again. So my record's not accurate online, but not everything online is. But also too, so many people in the fight game judge people based on records. Man, that's ridiculous. Number one, if you go and look at my record, the guys I fought, undefeated guys, top shelf guys. And I didn't pick and choose my fights. There's a lot of undefeated, tough guys, and I respect all of them. I respect anyone. I don't care if you've lost every single fight you ever had. I have more respect for that guy who jumped in and tried than somebody who never even pulled the trigger, where they were some gym fighter. But my point is, don't judge people based on their records. You don't know what they really can do, what they really know, their real ability. I wasn't even trying to get back into UFC or anything at that point when I was in my mid-30s. I just wanted to fight again. It was good for my spirit, which is why I'm thinking about doing another fight next year. But back to the book. Then I saw the Ultimate Fighting Championship in 1993. I joined a local judo school, MMA school. It was MMA, but we didn't even call it MMA back then. And anyway, let me move on. That was kind of my MMA part. All right, we're almost done, guys. Ose Shinobu, sharpen your sword. Us. A lot of martial artists don't know, but say the term us a lot, and to them it means like yes, or try harder, or I understand. But it comes from the old Japanese samurai talk, Ose Shinobu, which means to sharpen your sword. Imagine samurai 1,000 years ago telling each other to sharpen their sword. You know, just what that means. I love the Zen saying, if you give me 4 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 3 sharpening the axe. It's a wonderful thing to teach your students and your children. Chapter 7, I believe, when I was a drug addict. Wow, what a party! And the after party was even better. I remember my first roll, tab, X, E, ecstasy, an ecstasy pill. I was cheering at FAU in Boca Raton, and yes, I was a college cheerleader. And I will still choke your ass out. Anyone who decided to go, anywho, we decided to go to the Chili Pepper in Fort Lauderdale, and it was like Oz, and I was the Tin Man. I was with our squad, a smattering of beautiful people, and we were going to roll for the first time. I had never felt this feeling before. MDMA, methyl dioxymethylphenidate. It was the drug, and it was the drug that induced an extreme sense of well-being and closeness. It could last anywhere from 3 to 6 hours, and if taken in multitude, you could roll for days. Often you would find yourself massaging one another because of the euphoric feeling of closeness and the inability to stop moving your hands. Lights would become more brilliant, and the world would spin like a top. Combined with other pharmaceuticals like GHB, gamma hydroxybutyric acid, an incredible intoxicant that one cap full would be like a bottle of whiskey. Coke, an upper that would make you move and shake like Little Richard in his heyday. Mescaline pills, shroomies, hallucinogenic mushrooms, and on top of it all off, nitrous oxide or laughing gas tanks. Now you have a party. I mean, the world we discovered. The parties that went for days and a time traveling from apartment to apartment like we were traveling the yellow brick road. With fighters, club kids, strippers, dressed in oversized pants and crazy hats. I never partied my whole life. I was athlete all the way through college. When I moved to South Florida, it was in the mid-90s, so it was in the height of the rave era. So that's what I was doing. Oh, the faces, the normal. When they would see us wandering around the lakes, side combos and pristine Boca housing developments, talking to ducks and chasing each other around in the bushes, and dragging our G'd out, passed out friends around like a weekend at Bernie's. It was a magical time, free love and nonstop celebration. And then came along Special K, meow, or ketamine, a low-grade animal tranquilizer that caused extreme hallucinations. Ketamine was Willy Wonka World on steroids. It could be snorted or injected, and man, what a ride! The world would begin to spin, and the lights would become angels. One friend would always claim to her that angels were singing when she was tripping K. I came close to what I believed was God's voice. I saw what looked like energy-based angels that would look like stingrays made out of light and energy that would hover over our beds and watch over us. I once walked and talked with what identified itself as the Spirit of God in Key West at Bartender's Bash for over an hour, which concluded in me stripping down naked and promising to follow what I thought was God into a crowd of about 3,000 until my friend's girlfriend ran out and covered me with a towel. Once I was celebrating my 28th birthday, and one moment I was in the living room listening to music, chilling on the couch, and the next I was on a gurney somewhere with what looked like reptilian doctors, identifying to the other reptilian technicians in the room that this one is awake. And then I felt a shock to my heart. Boom! I was back on the couch with my girl. Was any of this real? I don't know. What I do know is I was given a window into another reality that I had never seen before. A window that now, almost 10 years sober, I am still able to tap into drug-free through meditation and focused training. What is real? What we think? We all think so many different things. We believe so many different things that we actually analyze the evidence, and what we believe we find out we do not know. Why we believe in all these things we say we know. If someone is rational enough to realize all they've been told is false, will they humble themselves to question all they think they know? Will they be courageous enough to question all they have been told and taught? I do not know. I do not care. We are each our own responsibilities, and it is not our duty to convert others to our way of thinking. This is something that fearful do to convince themselves what they believe is true. Righteousness is best felt in numbers. Of course, 99% of the world once thought that the world was flat. That did not make it so. My favorite podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience, which it still is. No, mine's my favorite now, but Joe's is second. Often comment, and if you haven't heard my podcast yet, Google the World Class Fight Cast. We have amazing guests. It's on Spotify. You can listen to it on your phone. There's guys like Brazilian top team and American top team founder Ricardo Laborio. I have grappling legends, Abu Dhabi champions Jeff the Snowman Munson, amazing political mind, amazing humanitarian. I have a holistic, beautiful holistic with Dr. Stephanie Pierre. I have one of the strongest nutrition, exercise, fitness experts in South Florida, Cham Pierre, her husband. So many amazing guest on there. My friend Coach Steve Nelson, one of the founders of MMA in the country. He probably had one of the first 6 shows in the world in the early 90s. I think his show actually started in the late 80s. He comes from a wrestling, like the WWE wrestling family and lineage, but he was a legit OSU wrestler. Anyway, I digress. Back to the book. I'm almost done too. What would a physicist have to say about a Neanderthal? Which is my thought on, the old way of thinking and what's actually going on today. Because information and all that stuff, it always changes. It's always evolving. So holding on to past beliefs or stories just because that's what your great-great-great-great-grandfather believed it might be traditional, it might be loyal, it might be a family cultural thing, but does that make it real? Does that make it true? Of course not. The living life, the living energy, the living, it's always constantly, it's always constantly changing and evolving. That'll be cool to have a little fall on the phone. Okay. Uh-oh. Man, this is tough for me, but just like a fight, we're gonna push through and finish. All right, we're almost done, folks. If you haven't been following, I'm reading my book, Eternal Energy and Information. I sold out of all the ones I ordered. I'll be ordering more soon. If you want a signed copy, you can come by Jimmy Ninja Entertainment soon and get one. And I'll sign a copy for you. If not, you can listen to the whole book while you're mowing the grass. This is actually a pretty cool. I'm leaving some of the parts of the book out, so there'll be some surprises for you when you read it, as well as you get a signed copy by me. But also, this video or audio version is also going to have a lot of this extra that I'm adding to it. All right, so we're almost done. I think this is chapter 9. I see God here too. There is intelligence, or another way to see God, because to me God is this intelligence in all things, from organs to cell, to the atom, to the subatomic particle. Within the subatomic particle, we see the promotion of life, survival, replication, consciousness, function, form, connection, etc. There is another form of the God label. Within the molecule, we see the promotion of life, survival, replication, consciousness, function, form, connection, etc. This is another form of the God label. With the stem cell, we see the promotion of life, survival, replication, consciousness, function, form, connection, etc. This is another form of the God label. So on and so forth. Macrocosm, microcosm. What you see in the human eye, you're seeing in the cosmos. Because it's like a Russian doll, We're just a smaller version of a smaller version. If you ever seen, what's that movie with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, where they're like alien hunters or whatever, and we end up being a marble in some aliens, it's quite possible. Again, like I said, I don't know what's going on in the universe. This is just my observations and opinions. If we are the cue ball, going back to chapter 1, and we're playing the game of our choosing, can we influence our development? Can we evolve and change? By will alone, the same way we win our pool game. I know that at the age of 28 and feeling broken, with a broken spirit and a fractured back, I was becoming someone I did not want to be. And through synchronistic events and a sure willpower, I changed all of that. And I'm now a much younger man in my 40s-year-old body than I was at 28. Because we're water and energy in nature. You literally can get younger as you get older by fixing the pilot. People all the time remark on my age and how I look, from my skin to the shape of to my shape, to my bones, to my zest for life. This is not a coincidence. I have manipulated matter and space and time. I feel in touch with who I am and what I am. I actively support my belief system with affirmation therapy, a deep study, a constant meditation on things, and I know how to increase my vitality, my sense of well-being. There is a formula for balanced and joyful life, and that formula can sound like this: 1 cup of physical activity, 1 cup of mental study in the science and positive self-help, 1 cup of focusing on being self first, at the same time learning to value and enjoy people, 1 cup of actively experiencing your passion, 1 cup of a loving relationship. God is in you. Because of all these things, subatomic particles, atoms, cells, organs, and the intelligence that makes up all of this are you, and therefore God is within you. God is you. You are God. Now, your human psyche, that part of you, your ego, that's not God. That is not spirit. That is the computer running on its own. But that connection, when you are connected with the divine, you are also the divine. People hear that often and they think, oh, that's blasphemous. It's not blasphemous when you are connected with the message. Like, I'm not a phone, but the minute I start talking on the phone, me and the phone are one. Okay? I am not the spirit of the universe and cosmos, but when I connect with the spirit, whether it be through my passions, prayer, meditation, through my service, through my works, I am in connection with that spirit. I also am spirit. That's what that term means when people say, I'm also God. You have to get out of your words sometimes. Too many of y'all are just stuck with words, and you're semantics, like the people who are addicted of correcting people's spelling, and they're like, that's a form of a mental disease, when you cannot look at something and just let go. And people have to spell things a certain way or phrase things a certain way for you. That's a sign for you to look at yourself and learn to let go a little bit. You're not in charge of everyone else's spelling. You're in charge of your own. Just like you're not in charge of everyone else's life. For me, I was plagued many years as a sensei thinking I was here to help and change everyone. And I realized eventually I'm not here to help and change anyone except for myself. And I'm here to guide my children. And they will become who they're supposed to become as well. Almost done. Chapter 10. I think it's the last one. Oh, there might be 2 more, so it might be chapter 9. No, chapter 10. I am God. And I just described what that meant. It's not saying that I am the one being. It's saying that when I am connected with the divine, I am also divine. The law of attraction, or as I see it, this is chapter 10, I think. The law of attraction, or as I see it, the way I set my mind on getting stuff or getting stuff done. About 10 years ago, I saw the video The Secret. Like most people, I had never heard of this topic. It's on Netflix, by the way, if you want to watch it. It's not as good as the original, though. The original had Abraham Hicks in it, and they ended up taking them out, and they were really the best part of the video. So if you can find that version, look for the version of The Secret with Abraham Hicks in it. She's probably one of my greatest teachers in this life. Heroes. I had never heard of this topic. I was fascinated by the concept of putting myself in the right vibrational feeling. I could hasten my fondest desires into my reality. This was much easier said than done, yet I personally found that what I was addressing in the beginning was my general negative outlook on the world. I always acted as if I was happy or pretended to be happy, yet that was not the same thing as truly becoming a positive person who always saw the world as half full instead of half empty. You were not your thoughts. One of my favorite spiritual lessons I've been given my whole life. You are not your thoughts. So many of you are plagued by your thoughts, thinking that you're evil because you think this or think that. Your mind's a computer. It spits out all of these things, even some of them being vile. It doesn't mean that's who you are. You're not your thoughts. You're your actions. You're who you choose to be. You're your consistencies. You're your passions. We're not our mistakes. So often people will try to convince you, like your family or other people or people with big egos that want you to feel small about yourself, that you're your mistakes and the things that happen. I literally was arrested for a drug thing when I was in my 20s during the rave era in South Florida over 20 years ago, partying with other young kids. Who cares? It happens. I just told you the whole chapter about it. I go out here on Dias a couple years ago, and they're like, "Oh my God, you have a possession charge? We don't know if we can let you on." I'm like, dude, that's over 20 years ago. I'm like, it was another lifetime ago. You weren't even born. The guard who was, and no offense to I love the military. I'm from a military family, extremely patriotic. But the rules and the way he reacted, ridiculous. Why? Because people need to label you and pigeonhole you and say you're this, say you're that. Your credit score. What a sham. Because people never change. Things never change. Things always stay the same. The ridiculousness of the ideologies that people use. All right. How do we do these things? I will give you a clue, yet my intention is to go into a more depth in my next book. One technique that I teach all of my students is the 10-second meditation. You sit comfortably with your eyes closed. You breathe deeply in your nose and slowly out of your mouth. Do this with me for a second. I'm going to teach you guys the first meditation that I use. And you breathe slowly in the nose, listening to the sound. And slowly out of the mouth. Hi, Schmoopky Robin. I see you. Love you. Miss you. I want to come back to Brooklyn and do a show and see y'all. And you do that for 10 seconds, and you only listen to the sound of your breath. Your mind will check out, and you will come in tune with your spirit. And that is the first goal, a 10-second meditation. Eventually, you'll move that to 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 30 minutes, an hour, and that is your first goal, learning to meditate, is to tune out and listen to the sound of your breathing. Okay? So that's your first lesson in meditation. After that, there's many others. You can actually travel the cosmos. You can do all kinds of cool things. But learn to do the 10-second meditation first. The right tool for the job. Since I was a child, I've always been amazed by the sound of the guitar. I have owned crappy guitars. I've owned magical guitars. Having the right guitar can make all the difference on stage. And an in-tune guitar sounds like an angel choir. And an out-of-tune guitar can ruin a show. When you wish to become an award-winning singer-songwriter, which I am, you have to have the right tools for the job. Do not accept to become a pianist and not own a piano. Your attraction or manifestation needs the right tools for the job. I'm talking about manifesting things. So learning to meditate and calm your mind is important. Learning to have the right tools for the job. Like if you want to manifest certain things, like how was I going to become a great singer-songwriter if I didn't have an instrument to compose on? I mean, I could have just written and composed and just sang. So your voice is still your instrument, but you need to have the right tools for the job. Third, a guide. When attracting an outcome, it is best to ask for or seek out a guide. A guide or role model can come in many forms, and I cannot really tell you what your guide will be. A guide will manifest along your journey in a natural way. Seek and ye shall find. There are guides every day that will point you in the right direction towards your goal. You only have to be willing to open your eyes and heart and hear them. Do not be concerned for where they will come, for they will come. Just know the certainty that they will. 5. Courage. Last yet not least, you must be courageous. Often you will feel you are lost. You will feel worry where this will come from. When you're manifesting, you'll worry where it's going to come from or how you will get the capital for your ideas. Yet you have to move forward, and you have with the knowing that all will come together. The courage to take the chance, and the experiment is all that is needed. And to experiment is all that is needed. Like, basically, you cannot manifest things if you're sitting afraid in your home, not willing to take any actions. People's biggest resistance when I'm coaching people is, I can't do that. I don't have enough money, or I don't have the right connections, or I have to take care of my. In the littlest ways, if you'll begin to manifest and do what you can, the way will become bigger and bigger and bigger until you do have those things that you need. The first thing you need to do is drop your resistance and that negative voice in your head telling you can't. 6, the sun. Oh, this is my last chapter, I believe. And I love this idea. And again, let me finish the book by saying this all might be out of my head. It's all my opinion. I honestly do not know what's going on in reality. Yet, this is my observation from my 48 years of life. Chapter 10, the sun and what might happen when we die. For many years, we did not know that the sun was a star. Newton hypothesized that the stars were faraway suns. How did the greatest scientists of all time figure this out nearly 300 years ago? I have always felt a special kindred relationship to our sun. When you think about how often people throw around the word God, yet completely ignore the fact that the sun, our sun, is everything to us. It is heat, it is light, and it is life. Without our sun, there is no us. I have for some time practiced sun meditations, where I stare directly into the sun and meditate. I do not recommend doing that. If you do it with your eyes closed at dusk or dawn. I used to do it in the bright of day on the beach. I don't recommend doing that. People will say, do not do this, yet I still see and I feel something profound when I do this special sun meditation. I also feel an ongoing dialogue, and if we people were to ever show thanks and praise and reverence for anything in our solar system, how can we not praise the sun? How can we not see that itself has identity? The ancient Egyptians worshipped the sun as Ra, and the Greeks as Apollo, and I thank the sun every day for its gifts of love, light, and life for us all. Yes, thank you. And often pray for the miracle for God to give us a sign of His. Oh, we often pray for miracles or for God to give us signs of its existence. And what greater miracle exists in our reality or solar system than our own sun? The nebula of the cosmic gases and the elements that make up the sun came first in our solar system, and in its violent origin birthed our solar system, and within its guidance formed our planets and controls the gravitational pull and cycle of orbit within our Milky Way galaxy, which will collide with Andromeda galaxy in a few billion years. And then what? I also believe that the sun's stars act as a synapse, just as in the body, relaying energetic charges from one solar system to the next, and from one galaxy to another. This is where I begin my speculation. Yet every major religion in the world hypothesizes all kinds of things, so here goes my turn. Why would stars relay from one to another throughout the universe? Easy. That's how we, our souls, travel. The eternal energy and information that makes up the eternal you is light. We are light. Now, to tell you what happens when we die. Gravity is one of the fundamental forces that shapes our reality. There is gravity, electromagnetism, strong and weak nuclear force. This is so far. I probably am adding more here in the next few years. The sun projects light and life at our planet. From this light, from this radiation, energy that comes from the sun, everything we know exists on planet Earth. Therefore, when we die, when the gravity of our own bodies can no longer contain our eternal energy and information, EEI, the next greatest source of gravity in our solar system comes into play, and we are zipped away at light speed to the sun. I'm probably the first scientist that has quantified EEI, which is basically our soul weight or energy light weight. EEI, coined by Professor Jimmy Ninja Chaikong. Einstein theorized that the gravity of the sun shaped and warped the space and time around planets and comets that passed stars. This has been proven through cosmology. Our spirits, being of free will, then can choose to go or be whatever and whenever it chooses, because light does not act in the same manner as physical matter. Light has no bounds when it comes to time and space, yet it does use a method, and it does travel the intergalactic superhighway. So where do all the souls go? Where do all the souls go? Well, that's a mystery for my next book. There are no mysteries from the past. There are no longer mysteries at all. The same will be said of the mysteries of today. This is my quote. Every chapter ended with a quote. This was the last one for this one. There are mysteries from the past that are no longer mysteries at all. The same will be said of the mysteries of today. And I might have unraveled a few. Oh! I lied. One more chapter. The Quantum God. Dr. Richard Dawkins, biologist and leading voice in the non-theist or atheist movement, believes there is no evidence for God. I believe part of the issue here is trying to replace one mythological creator with another. We have replaced the Egyptian god Ra with the Greek god Zeus, with the Jewish god Yahweh, and now the prevalent god of Christians, Jesus Christ. Dawkins now can't see any reason to replace Christ with another mythological creator, and I can understand why. However, I feel the real God, the God who is right under his nose, which is measurable and full of evidence, is the quantum God. Within the cell and beyond that, at a subatomic level, is the atom with its form, function, direction, replication, and basically life. Life is building itself toward life's ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to be. Life has an intention to exist. Life has an intention to create. Life has an intention to replicate itself, or in other words, give off progeny. I believe within this subatomic level there is evidence for God. I believe now within the invention of the subatomic microscope, we are witnessing God, Godding. God is being God. Unlocking the secret or science of this subatomic field could release the potential that we have only dreamed of. Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared, unlocked the atomic atom and atomic energy, atomic bomb and atomic energy. Who's to say that we will not unlock the ability to create magnetic fields around our bodies and heal ourselves? We can already do this. We're already doing this. My friend Emerson, who's a physicist in Hawaii, they've already created a resonating magnetic field that's healing people of cancer. Transport ourselves at the speed of light. Fly by reversing our magnetic charge. The possibilities are endless. God is measurable, knowable, evidential property that exists in the quantum world. God is a quantum God. This book is by Professor Jimmy Ninja Chaikong, and it is dedicated to my family. I have some cool pictures at the end. Like I said, if you order one, when I get the new ones in, I've already sold out of the first batch. I'll be ordering some more soon. I will send you a signed copy, of course, me playing the guitar. And I got shows coming up, but this was the audio video version. It'll be on my YouTube soon. Check it out. Eternal Energy and Information by author Jimmy Ninja Chaikong. Keep it kung fu, and I love you. Peace.